These are the remaining problems on the practice test for Chapter 2. So let's take a look at our first one here. It says use the figure below for questions 15 through 17. So in here, number 15 says, in which quadrant is point A located? So remember, quadrants work this way. Remember the C. And so if I make a C around this, make a big C, see how it goes? I start on the upper right and I work my way around. If you remember the C for quadrants, then you will remember that this is quadrant number 1, this is quadrant number 2, this is quadrant number 3, and this is quadrant number 4. So you start here at quadrant 1, you work your way around to quadrant 2, 3, 4. So it goes in counterclockwise rotation. So in which quadrant is point A located? Well, A is right here. So that is quadrant number 2. What are the coordinates of point C? So C is right here, so that's 1 space to the left, 3 spaces down. So that's 1 to the left, so -1, and 3 spaces down, -3. So 1, -3. And taking a look at the next one, it says, what are the coordinates of point B? Well, B is right here, so this is 2 to the right. So to the right, that's a positive direction. So I'll put a plus sign there. So positive 2 spaces right, but 3 spaces down. So down is in the negative direction. So it's going to be a -3. So 2, -3. So going back to that last one, when you go to the left, that's the negative direction. Down is negative. That's why both of them were negative. If I went to the right, it's positive, and up, it's positive. Didn't have to do that for any of the ones here, but I'll just give you what D is. D would be 4 to the right, and then 1 up would be 4, 1. And then A would be, it looks like I go 7 spaces to the left, so -7, and 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces up, so it'd be +4. That's just a few extra answers there. Number 18, Kevin sold lemonade on a hot weekend. It doesn't matter that's a hot weekend. That's extra stuff. We don't need to know that. He charged the same price for each cup. Okay, that's important. Same price for each cup. On the first day, he sold 18 cups and made a profit of $9. Well, what we want to find is what the rate of 1 cup would be. So let's do this. $9 per 18 cups. So I want to find the cost for 1 cup. Well, when I do the division, 18 doesn't go into 9, so it becomes a decimal. So when I go ahead and do that, I put 18 on the outside, 9 inside, top dog goes in the doghouse, and I have to add a decimal point, and then a 0. And 18 times by 5 gives me 90, so it's $0.5 per cup. So that's like 50 cents per cup is another way to think about that. Let's check the next one. On the second day, he sold 23 cups at $11.50. Okay, let's try that one out. So $11.50 per 23 cups. And so when I go ahead and do the division, 23 goes on the outside, 11.50 goes inside. Bring the decimal point straight up. 23 times by 5, well, let's see what that makes. 15. 10 plus 1 makes 11.50. So there it is, 0.50. So the same amount. So you see how those are equal amounts. So he's charging 50 cents for every cup. And so what we want to do is write an equation for the relation. For the relationship to tell what each variable, and we also tell what each variable represents. So what I would do is, you can use any variables you want. It doesn't say which ones you have to use, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to use P, which will stand for profit, so how much he makes, and I'm going to say C equals the number of cups sold. So my equation would be this. The profit equals 50 cents. So 50 cents times C. So you see it works, because if I did the 18 cups times by 50, or 0.5, then I end up getting $9. If I did 0.5 times 23, that gives me $11.50. So that's the way the equation works. So the important thing to do is use the information to find the rate first, and then you can write your equation. Here they're asking, they say write an equation in two variables, and that gives the value in the table. Use the equation to find the value of x. So what I start by doing is looking at this one first. 0, negative 1. So basically you're going to have an equation that goes y, the outputs equal, and then you're going to have an x value, and then since I'm starting at 0, you see if x were 0, I would have to have minus 1 first. See, minus 1. See, if I put 0 in here, I get negative 1 for the y value. Now we've got to see if it works, and if it doesn't, then we're going to have to multiply the x value by some number. So let's try the next one. If I plug in 1 for x, say I put 1 in right here, 1 minus 1, that makes 0. But that does not match 2, so I know that's wrong. So what I need to do is figure out what number would I have to multiply the x by so that I would get 2 eventually. So what we can do is, since these numbers are going up by in order, let's see what the difference is here. See, this is I'm adding 3. Here I'm adding 3. Here I'm adding 3. And here I'm adding 3. So I'm adding 3 each time as the x values go up by one number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 3 times x. And use that rate of increase. That rate of increase is the coefficient of x, as long as these numbers are going up by 1. So let's try it. 3 times by, and I'll try this number right here, 1 minus 1. This makes 3 minus 1 makes 2. That matches. See how that matches this 2 right here? So I can do another one. I'll try this one here. I'll plug in 2 for x. So 3 times by 2 minus 1. That makes 6 minus 1 makes 5. See how y equals 5 when x is 2. So it matches. So there's my equation. Y equals 3x minus 1. So start with the y-intercept when x is 0, what the y value is, and then look to see if you can figure out what number needs to be multiplied by x, and then subtract 1 in this case, because that's what the y value was when x was 0, to equal all the other values. Write an equation for the relationship that tells what each variable represents. Gina is 5 years older than her brother. So G is going to equal Gina's age. And we'll go with B equals brother's age. So let's write the equation. Gina is means equals right here, 5 years older than her brother. So B, her brother's age, plus 5 years. There's my equation. Well, let's take a look at our next problem here. Here it says use the values x equals 1, 2, 3, 4 to write solutions for the equation. So on this problem, what I would do is I would set up a chart. And you want to use ordered pairs here, so let's do this. Let's go with x, values of x, and then the function 2x minus 6, and then the corresponding outputs, and then we can write the ordered pairs, x comma y. So let's plug in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to plug in 1 for x, so 2 times by 1 minus 6. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So the first ordered pair is 1 comma negative 4. So that's one of the answers, 1 comma negative 4. Next one, plug in 2 for x. So 2 times by 2 minus 6. So that makes 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. So the next one's going to be 2 comma negative 2. So that's our next answer. And let's try the next one here. Let's plug in the 3 in for x. So it's 2 times by 3 minus 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. So 3 comma 0 is the next point there. And let's try our last one there. Plugging in 4 for x. So 2 times by 4, and then minus 6. That makes 8 minus 6, which makes 2. So 4 comma 2. That's the last point. So the next problem says determine whether the ordered pair 3 comma 15 is a solution of the equation. Well, if it's a solution, that means the 3, which is our x value, will go in for x here, and And y is 15, so we're going to put the 15 in place of this y's, and then we'll see if they equal. So we'll put 15 in place of y equals 6 times by, and then the x value is 3, and then minus 2. And so we go ahead and do some order of operation. Multiply the 3 and 6 makes 18. 18 minus 2 equals 16, and you see how 15 does not equal 16. So we would say no, and the reason is when we substituted, 15 is what we got on one side, and that did not equal 16. Last one asks us to graph the equation y equals x plus 6. So the best way to do this is use that chart. So we're going to pick some values for x, those are inputs, then plug them into the rule, the x plus 6, and then we'll get these outputs of y, and then from there we can write down the ordered pair, x comma y. And so I'm going to pick the numbers 0, 1, and 2. All we need are a few points. So 0 for x, so 0 plus 6 makes 6, so 0, comma 6. That is the first point. So I'm going to go over 0 and then up 6 points. Put the dot right there. And then try it again. 1 in for x, so 1 plus 6 makes 7. So 1 comma 7 is the next point. So I'm going over 1 space to the right, up 7 spaces. 2 for x, 2 plus 6. 2 plus 6 makes 8, 2 comma 8. So from that point, we go over 2 spaces to the right, up 8. We've got a few points to be able to draw lines. So you can kind of see which way it's going to go. See, if I go up 1 space, I go over 1 each time. So the next point would be here, then here, and so on. So I can go ahead and draw a line between those points there. And that's what it is. So put some arrows at the end showing that it goes on forever in those two directions. Well, those are the types of problems you're going to see on this week's, or this chapter's test. Good luck.